The TV1 News is proudly brought to you by BSP, our bank, our people.
Good evening. This is TV1 News. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maricela Kelleton.
I'm Terry Longwood. Join me for all the sports later on in the news.
In this edition, Kirpi set precedents and refused compensation. Chachenko to deliver apology in Parliament, and Garamut's off to training camp. On Friday, June 2nd, more than 30 female students from St. Peter Channel Catholic Teachers College in East New Britain Province received a major boost in their learning with the gifting of laptops and tuition scholarships through the Best of PNG support. With a generous donation from Newcrest Mining and the Global Partnerships for Education, 33 female students were selected to be recipients of the laptops, and with additional assistance from Bank South Pacific, 5 more girls were awarded similarly.
Best, boosting education standards together. PNG Project Manager Ambrose Rayuka said, Save the Children PNG, in partnership with the Education Department, the DEST, has been promoting girls' teacher training, especially in science and mathematics, in the last 2 years at St. Peter Channel Catholic College in East New Britain. PSP Kokopo Branch Manager Carla Tiriman presented the 5 remaining awards, which included a laptop bag and envelope containing tuition plus boarding fees for each of the 5 students awarded. The scholarship scheme was for female students studying for a degree in secondary teacher education, mathematics and science by the government through the National Department of Education through a grant from the Global Partnership for Education, or GPE, as an education sector plan implementation grant towards supporting Best of PNG.
And with us here in the audience, we have 38 girls who are beneficiaries of the scholarship by GPE, Newcrest Mining, and BSP. So we are happy that BSP has joined us as a key partner.
The Female Teachers Education Scholarship Scheme is part of a comprehensive education Best PNG program and was developed based on the GPE principle of developing and implementing high-quality, equitable and efficient education interventions to improve access and learning outcomes, especially for the most vulnerable students.
For GPE, we are really proud to be partnering with the Department of Education, the DHERS, the Save the Children, and through JICA, which is the coordinating agency to support education reforms in PNG. And supporting teacher education is what the basic is. So really happy to be here.
Part of the GPE grant proceeds is to support 40 female students from underserved target provinces to study Bachelor of Education degree in secondary education, specializing in science and or mathematics. In addition, Save the Children mobilized 10 more scholarships from Newcrest Mining Limited and 5 from BSP Financial Services Group Limited. The beneficiaries to the scholarships are currently enrolled at the following institutions, offering a study program leading to Bachelor of Education degree in secondary education with specialization in mathematics and or science, which is the University of Goroka, St. Peter Channel Catholic College, and the Pacific Adventist University. Frida Kana, TV1 News.
To further cooperation and partnership in digital transformation, 7 Pacific Island countries, including Papua New Guinea, signed a partnership statement of intent with the Republic of Korea recently. Tonga, Nauru, Samoa, Palau, Cook Islands and Kiribati had also signed. Australia and the World Bank also attended the meeting as supporting partners. The Korea Pacific Islands Digital Ministerial Conference co-chair and PNG Information and Communications Technology Minister Timothy Masiu was in Seoul, South Korea when the statement was signed together with Korean Minister for Science and ICT Dr. Lee Jun-ho. Minister Masiu and his South Korean counterpart also had bilateral talks to strengthen the country relations in digital transformation. Korean Minister for Science and ICT was also invited to PNG for the Pacific ICT meeting in August this year. Kokopo Technical Secondary School had always observed the World Environment Day, and in the last 2 years, they had featured on the carbon sink with the building of a mini greenhouse. This year, they made 3 carbon sink or greenhouses. The construction of the frames were prefabricated by the grade 11 practical skills students under the supervision of social science and geography teacher Elsie Recchi.
It was a beautiful sight to see young students being sensitized about the importance of containing the carbon sink to preserve the environment. The construction of 3 carbon sink or greenhouses were done the weekend before World Environment Day on Monday, 5th June.
Most of us call it greenhouse. We tend to use the term carbon sinks to teach the students the importance of what we are doing. Carbon sinks is actually a greenhouse where you put plants. And we know plants, they are very important to us, and that's the focus for this project here.
The grade 11 students over the weekend completed the carbon sink structures in which the grade 12s placed flower pots to display on Monday during the World Environment Day celebrations. Part of the World Environment Day celebrations included competition for the best wares that were made out of traditional materials designed by the students. These were displayed in a dress parade. Frida Kana, TVWAN News.
The National Capital District Commission, in recognition of World Environment Day, relaunched the 1 Million Trees Planting Initiative on Monday, June 5th. The aim of the initiative is to engage the community in a large-scale tree planting effort, enhancing green cover, mitigating climate change, improving air quality, and beautifying the nation's capital through planting 1 million trees. This year, NCDC chose 6 locations around the city to roll out the initiative: Sana Peace Park, UPNG, Burkwa Goa Road, Bissini Soccer Field, Mari Barracks and Bomana CIS. The objective was to transform the landscape, promote sustainability and contribute to a greener and healthier city. The initiative is expected to bring forth significant benefits for Port Moresby by increasing the green canopy, improving air quality, reduce carbon emissions, provide habitats for wildlife, and enhance the overall well-being of residents. The initiative will also serve as a catalyst to inspire further tree planting efforts and encourage active participation in environmental conservation. The Kerpi community of the Andakeki tribe in Anglim South Wagi district in Jiwaka province have set a precedent in the highlands region to do away with the culture of compensation. The community decided not to accept any bell call or compensation for the death of their leader, Patrick Bura, who was recently killed in a car accident by a driver from the neighboring Tungai Kentipen B tribe. A peace ceremony was held last weekend in the presence of police, community leaders and village councillors.
The Kerpi community of the Andekelke tribe have made history last weekend by not agreeing to follow the Highlands culture of accepting compensation for the death of their councillor Patrick Bura, who was killed in a car accident on the 29th of April 2023. Patrick Bura, 59, was a local leader, influencer, and the voice of close to 10,000 people of the Andekelke tribe. At the time of the accident, Bura was sitting offside the single-cab Toyota Hilux with 8 other passengers, including his 2 sons, the youngest, a 2-year-old.
So me not blaming one something. All got something and they have a little son. Low and stop.
Since the incident, the Kirpi community have left the matter with police and allowed the rule of law take its course and prosecute those guilty of the death of their leader. The Kirpi community staged a peace ceremony last Saturday, inviting representatives from Aviamp community and the neighboring tribes to make peace. The ceremony is the initiative of Nixon Joe, the nephew of the deceased.
The problem of the country and stop because of the issue that's all. One man looks at when it cost the problem, go resolve the law, go use more kind and weapon, kind and something of resolving problem. There's no way by solving problem. He got way of simple by solving problem now. Carry more money coming in down now. You want bell now. You look savage maybe come up and second or something. Put the person.
Joe is a senior state lawyer working with the Office of the Solicitor General under the Department of Justice and Attorney General. As a lawyer, Joe believes it is proper for him to uphold the law and let justice take its course at his community. Council of Aviamp community Bob Tapi was invited to the peace ceremony. Tapi thanked the leaders of the Andekelke tribe for taking this path, which will provide peace and stability in the communities.
Thank him. Papa go right up. I'm one that also lawyer yet me talk to him. So look at him, all get a man on the ground.
Members of the police were also invited to witness the peace ceremony. Jiwaka's Rural Commander Gabriel House says this is a unique peace ceremony, which is the first of its kind displayed by a tribe in Jiwaka province.
Excellent to come up every day by me expect now I'm put him like I'm not passing now I'm talk now me talk no got compensation was an accident didn't come up on the problem in losing life was an accident.
The bell call and compensation is a normal culture of the Highlands region. The Andekelke tribe have decided to leave this culture, which they believe is not healthy for their society to progress. 22 pigs were killed and brought in to close the mourning period for late Patrick and also to make peace between the Kirpi and Aviam communities. The Kirpi people believe the peace ceremony will help both tribes to live without fear, and this sets a precedent for others in the Highlands region to follow. Jasmine Ero, TVWAN News.
Governor General Sir Bob Dadai received annual reports from the Auditor General's Office and the Office of the Public Solicitor today. Auditor General Gordon Kega presented the 2020 report, emphasizing its significance in showcasing the office's efforts to ensure transparent and accountable use of public funds. The Auditor General's Office is responsible for auditing the government's financial affairs as mandated by the country's constitution. Public Solicitor Leslie Mamu presented the 2022 annual report, which covered the office operations, cases handled and recommendations for improvement. Both offices, being constitutional office holders, are required to submit annual reports. The Governor General will forward the reports to the office of the Speaker of Parliament for presentation and review. This is TV1 News. Stay tuned for more after the break.
It was during and after COVID that really motivated me to want to take up life insurance. I think savings is very important, and I think One Talk Delight provides a disciplined approach to savings, and it's a good investment to want to think about the future, because it's always nice to have plans for what you want to do later on.
With you for life.
Enjoy life when we're working together, making happy memories that last forever. Hot in talk, young or old, a scale race, family meal with home. We'll bring out the smiles, cause it's our favorite reminds. Tennessee Cola, scale rise, long scale price. Tennessee Cola, scale rise, long scale price. Amber, you like it?
A true champion is measured by their courage, their determination, and their passion to never give up and to always keep trying. With a delicious Milo and milk taste and added nutrients, Milo and milk is a great way to fuel our little champions with nourishing energy every day. Because true champions give it their all.
Milo, PNG and Mia. Prime PNG made.
The Toyota JD Hiace bus comes in 14 and 15-seater high-roof luxury model powered by 2.8 liters JD engine for optimal performance output, fuel efficiency and quietness, designed with improved safety features and easy maneuverability for tire steering angle. The Hiace lift suspension and annular frame structure is opted for smooth ride, comfort and safety. Experience the ride on the Hiace bus and experience the Hiace pride, the bus that exceeds all expectation.
Right across the nation, we eat snacks crackers. Emi trupla, all get a young planalapun, only like him snacks crackers. Only make him here, no PNG, one-time lay biscuit company. It's crunchy and tasty. It's irresistible.
Karate One Premier League live from Fukuoka, June 11th.
Welcome back. In Papua New Guinea, the difference between the planned and unplanned squatter settlements is not as clear as many of the older planned settlements have spilled over the original boundaries. Planned settlements are officially sanctioned self-help housing areas that are provided with infrastructure and basic services. Unplanned settlements in most cases are deemed illegal squatters without services. The National Research Institute issues paper number 44 titled "How Can Urban Housing and Settlement Issues Be Effectively Addressed in Papua New Guinea?" focuses on settlements and evictions in Port Moresby, which have become more frequent over the last decade, affecting increasing numbers of settlement dwellers than elsewhere in the country. The research states that contemporary settlements are important to the city's economy, and respect for people and property must prevail in the enforcement of evictions. PNG's policy and planning for housing and settlements must be addressed from a wider perspective of improving living standards and the welfare of the entire country for all urban dwellers and rural people. The Department of Foreign Affairs are clearing the air on the issues raised from the public regarding the recently signed agreements between PNG and the United States of America on the Defense Cooperation and Agreement concerning counter-illicit transnational maritime activity operations.
The Department of Foreign Affairs Secretary Elias Wahengu, who led negotiations, stated that the diplomatic exchanges and correspondence between states reveal that traditional military allegiance is inadequate to cover current global, regional, and national security environment. He added that negotiations on the two agreements began in 2016 and was supported by the State Solicitor, PNG Customs, DICT, CASA PNG, NAC, Department of Defense, PNG Defense Force, Transport and Foreign Affairs Departments. Wohengu shared that the ship rider agreement was for the boarding of ship riders on the parties' respective official vessels or aircrafts, thereby legitimizing the presence of either party in the respective territorial and adjacent waters and/or national airspace to participate in maritime operations, and the Defense Cooperation Agreement is a demonstration of the parties' intention to enhance levels of military cooperation. Both parties recognize that the presence of the U.S. force within the territory of PNG is based on the full respect for the laws of PNG. Jasmine Iru, TVWAN News.
Governor for North End Gary Juffa has raised concerns on the recently signed agreement on the Defense Cooperation Agreement with the United States of America and asked Prime Minister James Marape to clarify and elaborate on what is expected in the agreement. Governor Juffa said the people need to know what's in it for PNG. However, Prime Minister Marape responded indicating that nothing is secretive of the agreement and will be made available to Parliament in this session of Parliament. He also mentioned that due process were followed to sign the agreement.
Breach of our country's constitution or all our country's law in totality. The Defense Cooperation Agreement is elevated from what we already have in as far as our relationship with the Australian Defence Force, French Defence Force, New Zealand Defence Force, Indonesia Defence Force, and USA. In 1989, there was an agreement called Status of Force Agreement that governed how all these different defence forces and their agents relate with Papua New Guinea Defence Force and our agents. That 1989 Status of Force Agreement emanates or was promulgated through the provisions of the Visiting Defence Forces Act of 1975. And the power from that act was sourced from Section 206 of our nation's constitution. Our constitution and the drafters of our constitution, or our fathers of our country, envisaged, like all other nations do, every nation has foreign relations, government-to-government relations, and military-to-military relations with other nations. And anticipating that Papua New Guinea too as a country will be having relationship with other defense forces.
Sidelined Minister for Foreign Affairs Justin Chichenko will be delivering his statement of apology to the nation when Parliament resumes at 10 a.m. this Wednesday. Prime Minister James Marape told Parliament this afternoon as he defended Chichenko over alleged racial statements.
Prime Minister James Marape has defended sideline Minister for Foreign Affairs Justin Chichenko over racial statement he had made while defending his daughter who took the official trip with the father to the coronation of King Charles III in London last month. Marape said Chichenko apologized to the nation and verified his stance during the government caucus that his statement was specifically targeted to those attacking his daughter on social media and not the whole nation. Nonetheless, Governor for Morobe, Lutawenge, wanted clarification of this raised on the floor of Parliament today.
I'm not sure of the position. Is a minister, but he's not going to perform the function of the minister, so we can call him a minister. Or I'm not sure about his status, but I'm asking you whether you're going to get the minister to give a statement in this parliament to tell his nation why, if he did, why he made that highly derogatory statement, highly offensive to the citizens of this country.
The Prime Minister further said PNG people must be mature in understanding that Chichenko's statement was made in defense of his child. He also said the sideline minister will give a statement of apology in Wednesday's sitting. Chichenko remains a Minister of State but without a portfolio.
The leader of Toko tomorrow, addressing Parliament, he has stepped aside from the Foreign Ministry. Today he has vacated the front bench and you know, what more do we want from a leader who's also working consistent with the cultural sensitivity, knowing that an off-the-cuff remark has caused stress to our country and to himself. So he will make a statement tomorrow. I have assumed full responsibility as foreign minister. He is a minister with a portfolio. Constitutional offices that deals with leadership integrity are deaf, and they are not dumb and deaf. They've seen those issues. I think he's been summoned to the Ombudsman Commission once, and so those matters are work in progress. I just want our society to step up and not go down the gutter way of thinking. Some of the time we talk to us, come back to me. You want a man to stop inside, you can come out with kind of moments. Our nation must rise up as people of tolerance, even to abuse to yourself or personal self.
Meantime, Parliament is adjourned to Wednesday at 10 a.m. Freddie Mo, TVWAN News.
Buimo Correctional Institute in Marabe Province is seeing gradual changes in its prisoners following religious programs conducted by its prison chaplain. Buimo Prison Chaplain Reverend Martin Moyle said it is challenging working in a prison environment to convince prisoners to change their lives. Reverend Moyle said before taking on the role as a prison pastor, he studied the prisoners' behavior by living amongst them in the prison cells. He said after a thorough assessment, he started organizing daily devotions in the cells and was amazed to see the outcome of his work, including gang leaders converted into spiritual leaders. Reverend Moyle said they have a program coming up later this year where inmates will be given sacraments of confirmation and communion as well as baptism. When we come back, a look at what's making headlines in the region.
There's a sense of pride when you're able to do something right, a financial decision that has just really good benefits. With BSP Life Insurance, there's that alleviation of that worry when you pass away. The benefits of the BSP Life Insurance would meet those expenses on behalf of my family. If you're young and you have kids, you owe it to your children to make sure they're not left behind when you pass on.
With you for life. He loves the Maroons. He loves the Blues. But there's one thing that brings everyone together. SB Lager, Bungimyumi.
Hiya, Mama. You wait time, but me add him special flavor.
Put in more flavor, put in more taste. Add your kakaro, get up and big smile on face. Time for kim chicken, a great kumutu. Sip, sip, da mumu, yes, magic on you.
Maggi, the taste PNG loves.
When you're spending time with family, when you've got a big day ahead, when you have given it all you've got, when you're putting on a feast, that's when you want the best. That's when you want flame rice. New flame rice. Win him, Olgeta.
Watch World Championship Kickboxing on Fight Sports.
Leopards, bison, cheetahs, and more.
Ideally, all of these animals roaming freely would paint a beautiful picture. However, human progress won't allow that. The next best thing is to give them value.
Join Dan Cabela as he sets out on an international journey of discovery within the world of conservation.
There is no one-size-fits-all solution, and science is the best hope to find answers for their survival.
Hard Truths of Conservation, streaming now on Outdoor.
Welcome back. World Vision New Zealand on World Environment Day highlighted the urgent need for more innovative grassroots initiatives to help communities in the Pacific mitigate and adapt to climate change. The International Aid Organization says it's the right time to reflect on what more needs to be done to ensure communities can thrive in the face of the massive challenges of climate change. The Pacific has faced another round of devastating tropical cyclones, with Vanuatu hard hit. Climate change is already devastating communities, causing food shortages, affects water supplies, and impacts homes and livelihoods. World Vision New Zealand says situations will only continue to worsen if no action is taken now to mitigate and adapt to extreme weather patterns. The Defence Minister Richard Marles is hopeful Australia can upgrade a defence cooperation deal with Indonesia before the country elects a new president next year. Visiting Jakarta, the minister has told the Indonesians Australia's plan to obtain nuclear-propelled submarines shouldn't be an impediment for closer ties.
Miles has been in Jakarta trying to negotiate a new Australia-Indonesia defence cooperation deal. Both sides for the past few months have been talking about ways to upgrade the existing deal, try to put a bit more meat on the bones, make it a bit more practical. One thing that has been raised is the possibility of Australian troops accessing bases here and Indonesian troops accessing bases in Australia. That is a pretty controversial idea here. Indonesia does try to remain as neutral as possible amid rising regional tensions. Mr. Miles says often these sorts of agreements take years to negotiate, but he is cautiously optimistic that one can be reached before Indonesia's next election next year.
We want to see greater opportunities for our defence forces to work together, to exercise together, to use each other's facilities.
There is some concern on the Australian side that Indonesia might see the AUKUS plan for Australia to obtain nuclear-powered submarines as a deterrent for closer defence cooperation. But Richard Marles said that was not a main point of discussions with Indonesia's Defence Minister Prabowo Subianto. In fact, he said Australia is at ease with Indonesia's stance on AUKUS, and that's important because Prabowo is tipped to be one of the main candidates, possibly to become Indonesia's next president at the election next year.
Fijian Prime Minister Sitiveni Rabuka has arrived in New Zealand for a visit, including a number of formal engagements. Rabuka will spend time in Auckland and Wellington meeting with Prime Minister Chris Hipkins, Foreign Affairs Minister Nanaya Mahuta and Climate Change Minister James Shaw. PM Hipkins is looking forward to building on discussions and reaffirming New Zealand's support as a trusted friend and bilateral partner to Fiji. Alongside regional defence and security, climate change will be a key topic on the table. A group of Australian women and children held in a Syrian detention camp have launched legal action in a bid to force the federal government to bring them home. Lawyers for the group concede many had prior links to the Islamic State group, but say they're living in horrific conditions and have the right to be returned to Australia.
The federal court is a world away from a Middle Eastern war zone, but a group of Australians stuck in Syria believe this is where they can win back their freedom.
We'll certainly be making the case that it's urgent and that there are lives at stake here, so we'd ask the court to hear it expeditiously.
The 9 women and 17 children are being detained in Camp Roj in northeast Syria. The people held here are suspected of having links to the former Islamic State regime. But the group argue their ongoing detention is unlawful. They want the federal government to bring them home and say they're no risk to the Australian community.
Some women were coerced into following their partners into the theatre of war in Syria, the conflict with ISIS. Some of the women were children themselves when they were taken by their parents.
Last year, the government repatriated 17 others from the same camp. The prospect of former terror supporters returning to the community upsets some living in Western Sydney. But human rights advocates argue conditions in Syrian detention camps are horrific and the Australians have a right to come home.
These children are just hanging on. They're suffering really poor nutrition. They've got dental decay. They've got traumatic injuries suffered from the conflict. Their mental health is in a really poor state.
The Home Affairs Minister, Claire O'Neill, declined to comment. The families at the centre of this case are hoping it can be resolved through diplomacy and not through a lengthy and expensive court battle.
And now, the weather forecast for the next 24 hours. And that ends the news segment. Stay tuned for sports news after the break.
It's in the highs and in the lows. It's in the big things and the small things too. It's hard to put into words, but you'll know it when you see it. Terrain Tamer, when quality counts.
Without a doubt, you care for your loved ones. You want to keep them safe, whoever they may be with, wherever they may be, in the home or facing the world outside. Don't let anything stop you, not even bacteria. Protex helps protect your skin with natural extracts. Boosted with flaxseed oil, Protex helps eliminate 99.9% of bacteria for healthy skin. And with the power of natural goodness, you're ready to play every day. Protex, for the good health of your skin.
Change your TV plan to a postpaid plan and save more than 100 kina. Get a 30-day 40-channel plan for only 85 kina and get a free DTV plan to watch rugby league,
blink and you miss it,
or Filipino dramas from anywhere you want. Good idea. How awesome is that?
What a moment!
Dial 1515 to speak to a TV agent and get yourself a postpaid TV plan today. Digicel TV. More channels, more choice, more value.
Tempers just starting to bubble up. Here's the lead. Oh, solid hit.
largest athletes in the world are back. Witness the greatest sumo wrestlers in the world collide on an all-new season of Fight Sports Grand Sumo. The new season of Grand Sumo, only on Fight Sports.
Test with space. Now to Johnston. It is a thing of beauty. And the hammer spreads them up. And Queensland might be going to do it again.
They've gone over. Stevie Tai is claiming a try for the Burris.
He flew out of the line. Over to the man with the jet shoes. Oh, unbelievable. Manchester City's dominance of the game now reflected in the score. Barnechea might line up a shot and he scores!
Joe Root has lobbed that in the air. It's taken.
The whole breather. Don't tell that to Rory.
Ryan again doing some run, but knocks it down to Rankin from the pocket. So under.
Thank you for staying with us. PNG Under-19 Garamut left for Australia on Friday for a training camp as part of their preparation for the ICC Men's Under-19 Cricket World Cup EAP qualifier in Darwin from Saturday 10th of June to Thursday 22nd of June 2023. The Garamuts will be coached by former New Zealand Test player Hamish Bennett.
The 14-man squad, including 4 cricket officials, left for Darwin in good spirits for their lead-up training camp before the ICC Under-19 Men's CWC East Asia Pacific Qualifier 2023. The PNG Garamuts team include Tau Trevor Griffin, captain, Nelson Pate, vice-captain, Ware Robin, Dauncey Tom, James Frank Momo, Igor Paco Morea, Gabba Frank, Resby Stanley Bao, Metusela William, Anthony Tamarua David, Souvenir Sean Tau, Nau Tau, Alwyn Robson Boge, and Martin Taboa. Non-travelling reserves are Lekwa Henau Nau, Arua Guevara, and David Taraka. The Garamuts will be up against some of the region's best junior cricketers, including Test-playing country New Zealand, and will be coached by former New Zealand Test cricketer Hamish Bennett as specialist coach. Before the team's departure, Cricket PNG CEO Richard Dunn and the management team met with parents to thank them for allowing their sons to represent Papua New Guinea for the first time on the international stage. He assured the team will be on their best behavior as they are representing PNG. Former Baramandi captain Navu Maha also gave the team an insight on what to expect while on tour.
Nathan Cleary's hopes of featuring in this year's State of Origin series are all but over after scans revealed the New South Wales halfback has suffered a hamstring tear to leave head coach Brett Fiedler with an unwelcome headache. The Blues' number 7 limped off Panthers' 26-18 win over St George Illawarra on Sunday, with scans on Monday revealing a grade 2 tear to his left hamstring. The injury is set to sideline the playmaker for up to 6 weeks, according to the Panthers. That diagnosis suddenly rules him out of the must-win Game 2 in Brisbane on the 21st of June and leaves him at long odds to feature in Game 3 in Sydney on the 12th of July. Vanuatu national captain Brian Baltic has become the first Pacific player to win the A-League Winners' Medal after a Central Coast Mariners side defeat Melbourne City in Saturday's grand final. Jason Cummings scored a hat-trick in the 6-1 drubbing of the Melbourne City, which finished first in the regular season. It caps a remarkable season for 29-year-old Caltuck in his very first professional season. Caltuck started the final in his usual centre-back role. The success will have delighted his fans in Vanuatu, where the game was shown live. Guest resources Central Dubarris have continued their winning spirit, knocking off the struggling Galfiso 20 points to 10 in their round 8 clash on Sunday at the National Football Stadium. After an error-riddled opening half, the Central boys were able to regroup and pull away in the second half.
After registering their first win of the season against EMK Civic Pride in round 5, Galfiso continued to struggle to remain consistent in the competition. This was evident in their last 3 games, losing to Wigman, Vipers and Dubarris. Sunday's round 8 clash against Dubarris was a must-win game for ISO despite their mediocre form of late and the lack of confidence in their game. Things were looking promising for ISO in the opening exchanges after forcing Dubarris into uncharacteristic errors to take an early 6-0 lead from a chase and regather by Michael Timothy. Against a round of play, Dubarris got back into their rhythm, showing their try-scoring prowess with tries to Matthew Wawe from a Lega-Batia Hail Mary pass, followed by the brilliance of centre William Bire on the left edge before Agiru John Ako barged his way over to close the first half in their favour 14-6. At the resumption of second half, ISO kept Dubarris pinned down inside their half from a number of repeat sets, which eventually paid off with a try to Rayvath Vincent to trail 10-14. ISO were looking ominous to score again, but poor execution and taking wrong options let them down. Dubarris were resilient in defense with better set plays, using their skill and speed on the edges. From an attacking raid on the left edge, instigated by man of the match Lose Kuman, setting up speed machine Douglas Birica to put on the afterburners for a 50-meter dash for the line to seal the deal, 2010 in Dubarris' favour. ISO must be commended for the display of courage and efforts in their plays, but lacked patience, good leadership and cohesion from their spine. At full-time, Dubarris 20, ISO 10.
Through the second half, we struggled a bit, and the Spirit Breakers just scored a try and then give us a good space for the winning. So many errors coming up, so we're going to polish up that error to meet the Civic Pride next week.
Thank you. Game and tough. Only so to come strong. So, we play our guts out and we come out with a win. Win is a win, so thank you. First half, first 10 minutes like this, we start slow, but we pick up as we go play the second 20 and go back. So we pick up momentum through our good forwards and outside backs and finish. So thank you.
That wraps up our sports segment for tonight, Mary.
Thank you, Terry. That brings us to this edition of TVWAN News. Have a pleasant evening. Goodbye.
Bye.